Right now on WCNC.com, the Carolinas bracing for the biggest winter storm we've had in 3 years. Taking a live look right now at Doppler radar to see what's heading our way really in a few hours' time. Carolinas under a winter storm warning as we all prepare for the biggest snow threat since 2018. Snow, sleet. It will move into the Charlotte area by morning, and that's going to make roads, highways slippery on Sunday, tomorrow, that's for sure. We're expecting to see impacts all the way from South Carolina to Boone. That's why we've got team coverage spread across our area tonight from the mountains to right here across the Queen City. We're giving you the latest on conditions happening right now so you can be prepared. We know transportation officials and utility crews, they're all prepared. They're ready for the worst case scenario, and we've been telling you this, but we should all really be bracing for that worst case scenario. By the way, Charlotte Douglas, we're already seeing thousands of flights canceled at the airport today. It's all in preparation for what's to come. So with that said, let's check in with Brad Panovich. So Brad, you track these things, so you're very detailed with this. And as we know with weather, you're predicting, so things can change, but you're saying it's looking like this is going to actually materialize.
Yeah, and it's primarily ice, and that's kind of the thing. I think a lot of people got tricked into their apps and Siri and Alexa telling them about snow. This is really going to be an ice storm more than a snowstorm as it approaches the Carolinas. That's why you see these ice storm warnings to the south. Even though we're under a winter storm warning, we're going to see very similar conditions to that ice storm warning you see for our South Carolina counties. We're already seeing some reports of sleet and rain outside of the mountains, but in the mountains we are seeing some light snow developing. That's the one area where we're going to probably see mostly snow through this event. You see the moisture increasing slowly but surely. This is a very large system. There is tons of moisture. That is not something we're going to lack. We've got the cold air filtering in from the north and east, and that typical cold air wedge, that cold air gets trapped up against the mountains, but it's shallow. It's down here where we are. You go up to around 3,000 to 5,000 feet, the temperature is likely going to be closer to 38 or 40 degrees, and as that warm air surges in with the moisture, it'll be water or liquid rain falling down into a cold surface layer that's probably around 28, 29 degrees, and you're going to see freezing rain or sleet, depending on how thick that warm layer is. So that big area of pink is mixed precipitation, but it's mostly sleet and freezing rain. If you want solid snow, higher elevations, even here we could see some mixing for a time period. So what's the bottom line here? You need to plan for an ice storm, not a snowstorm in this situation. Sleet mixed with freezing rain, icy elevated surfaces, your deck, your patio, elevated road surfaces, bridges, overpasses will be slick. Significant travel issues because of that, and tree and power line damage. If we get a 1/4 inch of ice or more up in the trees and power lines, that's going to cause some damage. If we get a 1/2 inch, it could be significant damage, and that's really the concern, Carolyn. If we see any areas with a 1/2 inch of ice, we could see widespread outages.
Okay, so I have some questions for you because, I mean, I'm completely untrained when it comes to the weather and all of that kind of stuff, but an ice storm seems like it's worse than a snowstorm.
Absolutely. I would rather have snow. You can actually somewhat drive in snow. I mean, if you have good tires, a good car, you can get around on it because it's got some traction. Four-wheel drive, trucks, it doesn't matter. When you have ice, your car can't stop. Sometimes it can't get going. So in those situations, it's a lot worse. And then you throw into the fact that it causes power issues, which means you could be without heat or energy for an extended period of time. I definitely think ice is worse. It's no fun to play in like snow.
Oh, that's for sure. And you can't see it oftentimes. That's the scary thing. Brad mentioned it, the power outages. Well, everyone now is anticipating this, the snow, the freezing rain, the ice, as Brad mentioned. It can be dangerous for driving, but it also leads to, what Brad was talking about, homes without power. And when you don't have power, you don't have heat. That could be very painful. Jesse Pierre live in Concord for us. So we know, Jesse, you've been reporting there that Duke Energy, that's where they're putting their crews at this point. So what have you been seeing them doing as far as prep is concerned?
That's right. This is the staging area for Duke Energy. You can see about 250 to 300 trucks behind me ready on standby, and this is at the Charlotte Speedway. I'll step out the way. Now, more than 10,000 crews were called in, some coming in from nearby states to help. Now, this is just one of the many ways the counties are preparing for the storm. Now, Governor Roy Cooper has declared a state of emergency. The state also activated 200 National Guard soldiers to help with the storm response. Now, during a press conference this morning, Cooper said he does expect ice and trees to bring down power lines. I got a chance to speak to Duke Energy, and they estimate that about 750,000 customers across the Carolinas could lose power during this storm. And some areas hit the hardest could be without power for several days. Now, Duke Energy has power line technicians, damage assessors, and vegetation workers staged across counties. Again, it is all hands on deck.
What will happen tomorrow when the storm comes through, we'll go out and assess the situation. We won't do it during the middle of the storm because it's windy, it's dangerous, we don't want people hurt that way. So we'll go out, scout the situation, respond with a lot of the bucket trucks we have here today.
Now, I also spoke to the Department of Transportation yesterday. Their crews pre-treated roads, and they have about 400 or over 400 rather trucks staged and ready to go to clear roads of snow and ice. Again, folks are encouraged to stay home. Make sure that you have all of the items you need, your food, medication, and of course, if there is a power outage, you want to make sure you have batteries, flashlights, your phone is fully charged. You want to make sure you have the things that you need so that you don't have to travel in case there is an emergency. Of course, you'll travel, but you want to make sure you have everything that you need for the next few days so that you don't have to travel. Live in Concord, Jesse Pierre, WCNC Charlotte.
Jesse, thanks so much. Hey, here's a tip. Make sure that your car is gassed up, because at least, you know, if you don't have power inside, you can go and turn your car on for the heat and also use it for the battery. You can charge your phone and stuff like that if you've got a cable cord. WCNC Charlotte, making sure that you are ready, that you're safe all weekend long. Scan this QR code. So what you need to do is turn on your camera on your phone, hold it up to the screen, scan the code, and then you can check out our how-to guide. It has a bunch of stuff there for winter weather preparedness. Super important. Well, nearly 300 crews and contractors are on the way from Florida to the Carolinas. That's how much we're anticipating that this winter storm is really going to hit us. Here's a look at video shared from Duke Energy's Twitter page of all this happening. These crews from Florida left early this morning. Now, once the storm passes, they'll join the rest of the crews and deploy to areas where they are needed the most. And remember, if you need to report a power outage, again, scan this. We're all about the QR code lately here in WCNC Charlotte. It's a really nifty technology that we're using. So you can scan this QR code and then you can report a power outage for yourself or someone else. When you scan this, it'll take you to our website. There'll be links to Duke Energy, to Blue Ridge Energy, and Energy United, also links to the gas companies as well. And if your power does go out, you can still watch WCNC Charlotte newscast on our mobile app. There you're going to find complete weather preparedness guide, as I mentioned, and steps that you can take now to get ready for the storm. All you need to do to find that is look under the featured section. In the unfortunate case that your power does go out this weekend, here's some good reminders on how to stay warm. Close off rooms to avoid wasting heat. So only heat the rooms that you're actually in. Close the blinds or curtains to keep heat in, and use towels or rags to block the cracks under doors so you're not letting that cool air in or the heat to escape. Make sure you wear layers. That's the key. Also, be sure to eat something, because food provides energy to warm the body. Little comfort food for you. People in Charlotte getting their last minute items before they hunker down indoors for the weekend weather. Many people had to shop around a few stores to find what they needed. WCNC Charlotte's Shamaria Morrison showing us what that rush looked like.
A lot of people in Charlotte starting their days outside to make sure that they can get those last minute items to put into the back of their car like an emergency kit. Depending on where you went, shelves of ice defrosters and ice scrapers were gone. You could still grab a few essentials like water, canned goods, and flashlights if you needed them. One family is looking forward to a long weekend.
Cuddle up with a blanket and have a movie marathon maybe.
Yeah, drink some hot chocolate, go to Hot Chocolate.
You could also find people filling up their gas tanks and getting supplies for an emergency car kit. They're getting everything done to avoid hitting the roads for the next few days. In Charlotte, Shamaria Morrison, WCNC Charlotte.
After getting hit with snow just last week, the mountains are once again bracing for another bout of the winter weather. WCNC Charlotte's Indira Esquiva live in Blowing Rock. So mountain communities, they know it. There's nothing new to this winter weather. They're used to it, but they are taking this very seriously, that's for sure.
Carolyn, yes, they are taking it seriously, but first I want to show you where we're at. We're in downtown Blowing Rock, and actually we pulled up here about 15 minutes ago, and the flurries have started. So I know it may be hard for you to see on camera, but I definitely see them. They're, you know, still a little light, but we of course expect that to get heavier through the night. I want to show you that there is still snow, as you mentioned, Carolyn, from the previous snowfall here in Blowing Rock. So of course, for the people who live here, this is not their first encounter with snowfall, far from it. However, we're also hearing that there are some out-of-towners coming into Blowing Rock and Boone this weekend to try and get some of that snow. I actually called a few hotels and inns around here, and they told me, yes, in fact, they are pretty booked up this weekend. So emergency crews want you to know that if you are planning on traveling, please don't avoid these roads here in downtown. They already have salt out on the roads. I'm seeing it now. So again, that same warning we always hear, avoid driving if you can. And of course, we'll be out here live bringing you updates at 11 and all morning tomorrow. Back to you, Carolyn.
Stay safe out there, because I know, you know, when most people get to be inside, we're telling everyone don't get on the roads. Be inside. You're the one who's out there on the roads and trying to give us that information. So A, we thank you for it, and B, want to make sure that you are safe and bundled up. Make sure you wear gloves. That's so important. And we want to remind you that when you're taking those pictures from inside of the snow or ice tonight into tomorrow, we want you to send them to us. You can do that by using the Near Me feature on our WCNC Charlotte mobile app. You can upload your photos or video directly right there. You might see them used in our weather coverage on air. And we thank you for that, because you really help us tell the story. Right now, around 200 flights at Charlotte Douglas International Airport are delayed or canceled. That tells the story right there. It's leaving people stranded right before the winter weather hits. According to FlightAware, the biggest number of cancellations expected tomorrow. At least 1,000 flights are canceled already, the majority coming from American Airlines, of course, the hub here in Charlotte. This is a look at the airport. And people are trying to just get to where they want to go. Some checking the board for delays, cancellations they might experience. American Airlines releasing this statement saying, quote, some of the proactive cancellations we're making are to ensure aircraft positioned upline and out of areas impacted by expected winter weather. By keeping aircraft out of impacted stations, we're able to recover our operation more quickly, resuming flight operations into affected stations once impacts subside and the airfield has been treated. So basically what they're saying is they're being proactive. They're trying to get the airplanes out of the way so they don't have to do all the de-icing and everything once this storm does hit, because it is going to pass eventually. The city of Hickory announcing some closures ahead of Sunday's winter storm as well. Henry Fork River Park, Neil Clark Recreation Park, Rotary Geithner Park, Kiwanis Park, all closing at 7 p.m. tonight and will remain closed until city crews can get the entranceways and parking lots clear and safe to open. Now, all other parks will be open normal hours at this point, but of course that could change. Highland Recreation Center will be closed tomorrow, but let me tell you something, no one's going to want to be out in the parks anyway. This is not a fun snow situation. Brad was saying it's ice, and ice is no fun. In the sports world, the Charlotte Checkers are saying tomorrow's game will go on as scheduled. Officials with the Checkers say the game will not be canceled or postponed because of the weather. At this time, the Checkers plan to allow fans who believe they can travel safely to enter the Bojangles Coliseum and enjoy the game. For those who already have game tickets but no longer want to go, the team is offering full exchanges for any other game this season. NASCAR Hall of Fame closing its doors tomorrow in anticipation for the winter storm. They say keeping the safety of guests and team members is their top priority. They tell us that they're going to continue to monitor the weather conditions and will make a decision about Monday's operating schedule. They'll make that decision tomorrow afternoon. It's really easy to stay connected with our team as we get through this winter storm. Our way, one way is through social media. We're streaming right now, but we'll be streaming updated forecasts every single day. All right, Brad. We know that people are preparing, and you were saying, you know, tomorrow morning is the really tough part. Yeah. But today is when everyone is wondering, when do I need to be inside? Because people out and about right now trying to pick up their stuff that they need. But when is the time that everyone should just stop being outside and stay inside to let this storm pass.
You know, the good news is I think everybody can do their normal activities today and tonight. So when you get home tonight, even if you go out tonight, you'll be fine, because a lot of this is after midnight, after 2 a.m. So depending on how late you stay out. I mean, after 2 a.m., you probably need to be in your spot and stay in there, because that's when I expect the worst to move in. What we're seeing now is just scattered showers, a few snowflakes, as you saw up in the mountains, and maybe a little bit of sleet mixing in. The moisture, the main moisture band is not going to get here until maybe about 2, 3 in the morning. You see, there's a lot of it. I mean, that is a lot of moisture heading our way. That is mostly all rain. There is some sleet, or what we call bright banding, you see up here in northern parts of Alabama, into Mississippi, and even parts of Tennessee. As that pushes east, we're going to see it interact with the cold air at the surface. So we're going to expect freezing rain, probably some sleet. Now, the real question is, do we even make it to 35 tomorrow? We could be stuck in the low 30s most of the day. And here's the thing, even if it changes the rain, it's likely going to change back to snow at some point. I think actually the highest snow chance for Charlotte might be at the very end as the cold air aloft moves in with this system. Now, one thing I'm watching is dew points. You're probably saying, Brad, dew points I show in the summer, it's really muggy, right? Well, dry dew points have a huge impact on how cold it gets, because you see these dew points in the single digits and teens. That air is moving into the Piedmont of the Carolinas. It's pushing down on that northeast wind. That dry air at the surface is going to get that colliding basically with the moisture coming in from the south. So even if it were to start as rain, as the rain falls into that dry air, it evaporates. That actually causes the temperature to go down. And the lower those dew points are, the colder it gets. We could drop all the way down into the mid-20s because of evaporative cooling, and that will spell problems. So you see the northeast wind bringing in that cold, dry air. Here comes the moisture, falls into it. Watch the temperatures fall as the heavy precipitation moves in. So 7 a.m., everybody's below freezing. So this is likely snow. This is a combination of sleet and maybe heavy freezing rain. The warm air tries to move in by noon, but we're still below freezing, and it's likely going to be pouring right now at 29 degrees and heavy rain. It's not a good combo, I can tell you that. Down here, maybe we get to freezing. Maybe the rain tries to make it up, but we could stay below freezing most of the day. Then the cold air aloft comes in. That what we call warm nose, which is causing the rain, pushes away from us. The cold air aloft moves in, and we get into good old-fashioned snow showers by Sunday evening, and maybe even some heavy snow in the mountains. The best snows will happen early in the day in the mountains, and then probably going into Monday. We'll see snow linger into Monday into the mountains. That's why I think we'll definitely see some of those heavier snow amounts. So the precipitation types, you hear a lot about this. This solid rain. The setup we have tomorrow, we have cold air at the cloud level, but then this big warm layer here, which melts the snowflakes. They don't have time to refreeze, but it's cold enough at the ground that once they fall, we get ice. Now, if we were to see sleet, that warm layer would be thinner or shallower, and we'd have enough time to refreeze the raindrops. That would be sleet. They ping around. You can hear those like little BBs. And then once we get the cold air all the way through the column, we get back to good old-fashioned snow. This is the map that gives me worry tonight, because everybody's got sleds and they're getting excited for a winter wonderland. It's more like going to be ice again tomorrow. We're going to see 1/4 to 1/2 inch ice. That's a big problem, and it's right over the heart of our viewing area. Numerous trees and power lines could come down if we get close to 1/2 inch. Even 1/4 inch is going to be problematic, and we're likely going to see ice all the way up to maybe the Hickory area, and maybe sleet mixing in into the mountains. So the impacts of ice, just to give you an idea, 1/4 inch or less causes some problems. It's not great. 1/4 inch and above, that's where we start to have problems. Broken tree limbs, numerous power outages. You get to 1/2 inch, that's serious issues. That's a significant ice storm, and that's why you see areas under the ice storm warning, because we expect at least 1/2 inch. Now, our winter weather impacts, one thing you'll notice for the Charlotte area, see the big red? That's because we're a metro area. We have a lot of power lines, a lot of trees. We're expecting high impacts in the Charlotte area because of the ice, and that could cause widespread issues for a while. Even as you go to the east, this heavy ice area could be a big problem as we go through Sunday. So as I mentioned earlier, the thing you need to prepare for is ice, not snow. The impacts start at 2 a.m. They go through tomorrow morning into the afternoon, scattered power outages, very icy out there. In the mountains, less ice but more snow. That still is going to cause widespread travel issues, and that's the big story probably for the mountains, is the ice and snow-covered roads, because it will be slick. Now, there will be some snow. The mountains will be the best spot. You see across the Charlotte area, trace to 1 inch, maybe 1 to 2 inches in the northern part of the county, but a pretty tight gradient, which means you go from nothing to a whole bunch as you get into the mountains. So where Indira is up there in Boone, I think she's going to have a winter wonderland by tomorrow. 7-day forecast. Here's the details. This front moves through. It's not exactly going to warm up. We're going to see cold temperatures stick around, and that's the concern. If we lose power Carolyn, there's going to be a lot of people having to get through overnight lows in the teens and 20s and daytime highs struggling to get into the 40s all the way until next weekend. Maybe we could have another winter storm going into the weekend. So a very active pattern here for the next 7 days.
I was going to say, Brad, the difference between what's expected tomorrow and what's expected on Friday, not much. So it could be like a 1-2 punch, really.
Yeah, we could do this all over again. The one thing I'll say about going into next weekend, because the air mass is going to be colder ahead of it, there's probably a little better chance this could be sleet or snow and hopefully not ice. But again, we could be talking about this whole thing over again on Friday night.
I hope not. There's still time for this to change, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. Thanks, Brad. Black ice is something that we all are going to want to watch out for this weekend. Brad was talking about it. Ice, ice, ice. It can form really on any road. It's normally more typical to happen at night, but it can still be around in the morning. So don't let that fool you. If you can help it, we don't want you to drive. Don't drive during freezing temperatures after the rain or the snow melt, because that's when it is most dangerous. And while driving, you've probably seen that signs that say bridge ices before road. So why is that? I've always wondered why. Well, bridges don't have ground underneath. That means the entire structure can be surrounded by cold air. So it's a good reminder that freezing on a bridge isn't uniform. Certain parts may be icy while others are not. Another good reminder, slow down before you go to those bridges or overpasses. Changing speed on ice is very dangerous. And if you don't need to, just don't drive. All week long, we've been telling you about this winter weather that's coming this weekend. But the models, they're predicting everything. I mean, the models, we've got Brad. We don't need the models because he tells us what's happening. But yeah, he's predicting a lot, depending on where you are. But just how prepared is the Queen City for the weather? WCNC Charlotte, Megan Bragg verifies.
We still don't know exactly what we're going to get this weekend, but a lot of people remember the scenes from Virginia a week ago where hundreds of people were stuck in their vehicles on I-95 for hours after their heavy snowstorm. We got questions asking how this could happen and whether we're prepared. So the question, is Charlotte prepared for heavy snow? Let's verify. Our sources, Deputy Street Superintendent for the City of Charlotte, Charles Jones, and the National Weather Service.
This is about 2,500 tons of salt.
Oh, wow. It's at this facility along North Point Industrial Boulevard where you will find 36 plows, salt, and equipment to make brine for the City of Charlotte.
So the City of Charlotte maintains more than 5,200 lane miles of roads.
Charles Jones is Deputy Street Superintendent for the City of Charlotte, and he says they will treat more than half of those roads under various snow scenarios, getting ahead of what could come.
We'll actually be producing salt brine, which is essentially salt water. And we'll have crews go out and treat around 1,200 lane miles of roads with the salt brine solution.
As they prep roads ahead of a possible storm, is the city prepared if we get heavy snow? According to the National Weather Service, heavy snow is defined as snowfall accumulating to 4 inches or more in 12 hours or less, or snowfall accumulating to 6 inches or more in 24 hours or less. Something Jones says they are ready for.
And over the weekend, we'll wait to see when they need to come in. We tend to operate on a 12-hour shift. If the storm's going to come in Sunday morning, say 3 in the morning, we may bring them in at midnight and let them work through the overnight and morning.
So we can verify that, yes, the City of Charlotte is prepared for heavy snow as it's defined by the National Weather Service. And just a few reminders. Jones says if you do see trucks on the road before the storm, make sure to give them lots of room and be patient. Jones says the best thing to do to help out crews is to stay home. With your Verify, I'm Megan Bragg.
It is really easy to stay connected with our team as we get through this winter storm together. You can contact us or see it all on social media. We're streaming updated forecasts every day and multiple times a day, really. Right, Brad? You're online. And if you don't, by the way, if you don't follow Brad on the different social media accounts, it is a must. You bring it to us all throughout the day. You tell us the truth and you break it down in a way we can all understand.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You got to get these constant updates because, things will change just hour by hour in some cases. We've got a pretty good handle on the timing of this. The real question is how much ice. That's really the only question I have at this hour is how much of this is going to be sleet, freezing rain, or even some rain. We got to root for sleet. I don't normally say that because sleet is horrible on the roads, but it's much easier to deal with. My concern is this: we could see significant icing, 1/4 to 1/2 inch. This is really the story of this storm. For everybody who is planning for a snowstorm, it's not a snowstorm. It is an ice storm. We really can't reiterate that enough. And ice storms are not fun. Carolyn and I were just talking about it. It's miserable. It is not fun to be in 28-degree weather and it pouring rain outside, let alone the impact that has on bridges, overpasses, power lines, and trees. And that could be right across the heart of the Charlotte metro area. Now, there will be some snow. It's mainly going to be in the higher elevations, tight gradients. Some of us could see accumulations of sleet. If we get a quick burst of sleet, which is possible because the margin between sleet and freezing rain is very, very small. And sleet does accumulate, not as fast as snow because it's not fluffed up with air, but it does stick to the roads much easier. So 1/2 inch to inch of that. So just to give you an idea, I do think temperatures will hover in the 20s most of tomorrow, and that means freezing rain. We might eventually see it change back to good old-fashioned snow briefly with some snow showers, and that would make for some fun times at the tail end of it. Initially overnight, maybe some snow, but this is primarily sleet and freezing rain. The worst of this is the first half of tomorrow. You see some rain tries to sneak in here, but here comes the snow on the backside and maybe a quick burst at the tail end of this. Continuing snow in the mountains well into Monday. Remember, the impacts of the ice, significant. We will likely see more than 1/4 inch of ice, so that means power and tree damage for many areas, especially as you get into areas where we have more elevated trees and power lines. Below ground lines help out, but when you get a lot of trees and you have power lines on the poles, that's where you have the biggest issues. Now, that will be centered right over the Charlotte area. You see the high risk for weather impacts. That's because of the freezing rain over our area. The other part of the storm is when you get freezing rain and then you get winds that could be gusting around 30 miles per hour. That definitely tells me we're going to have trouble because the weight is bad enough. You start flopping it around in the wind, that's when you start to see some real issues. So the concern is the combination of ice and wind could cause some significant problems. And then behind it, the cold pattern sticks around. I'm already getting questions about that weekend event. There is the potential Thursday into Friday, maybe another near miss. We'll have to keep an eye on this. The pattern is favorable for more winter weather. Doesn't mean snow, but it does mean the risk for snow, sleet, or freezing rain could be with us again by the end of the week. Here we go with a very active winter pattern.
And just when we thought we were escaping all of this.
Yeah, December kind of fooled us.
I know.
The 4th warmest December on record, and then all of a sudden, January's like it's time to pay the bills.
Yep, it is winter after all.
Yep.
And that's it for us. We're going to sign off right now. But we want to see you again at 11 o'clock. We'll be on the air on WCNC Charlotte. So see you then.